Hi, can you state your name for the video?
Sure, I am Phillip Larson.
All right, and what is today's date and time?
Today's date is 5/6/2020 and it is currently 12:23 p.m.
All right, and do you mind sharing demographic information about yourself for this study, such as your race, ethnicity, age, and gender?
Sure, do not mind. So I am 22 years old. I am a Caucasian male, um, and 5'7", 135 pounds, to be more exact.
All right, and where do you live, and what's it like to live there?
I live in suburban Minnesota, just south of St. Paul. It's called Rosemount. It, it technically, I guess, would be considered upper middle class, so I've lived a fairly comfortable life. It's remote, so I can go to the cities if I want, or if I can go to rural areas if I want. So it's kind of like in a perfect little bubble of being relaxed. And then if I want to live a more lively life, I can go there too.
All right. And so when you first learned about COVID-19, what were your thoughts about it?
When I first heard about it, I heard about it first happening in China, and then I thought, okay, it's probably just gonna hopefully stay there. But as I heard it was like moving along, like to Europe and then now to us, I thought maybe we should start taking this seriously. Because then I heard stats that like the elderly are more susceptible to it. So I'm like, okay, that like even though like younger people aren't gonna like be too susceptible, we should still be cautious for the elderly and take that into consideration. And now, since it's like starting to get to younger people and not just the elderly, I think like the masks and 6 feet and social distancing is probably all required.
So, besides worrying for the elderly and the people who are more susceptible to getting COVID, what other issues have most concerned you about COVID-19?
I guess like people not taking it too seriously. So like I go out and people kind of like just going about their business, or like I hear things on the news like beaches are still open and people are going to beaches, people are still partying. So my main concern is people aren't taking it seriously. To the point where like this will last a lot longer and people are still going to get more sick because they don't see it as a big problem.
All right, and what is your job?
My job is a server in a restaurant in an assisted living. So to make more sense of that, it is a in dining in the assistant living department. So
All right,
that makes sense.
yeah, and so how has COVID-19 affected your job, like through the different stages?
Sorry, you cut out for a little bit.
Oh, how has COVID-19 affected your job? Oh, it
Got a
looks
little
like
frozen screen here.
yeah, you're also frozen.
Hmm.
Oh, you're moving again. You're
Okay, there we
into
go.
okay. All
There we go.
right,
We got back.
back on it. Okay, so uh the question again.
Okay.
How has COVID-19 affected your job?
Okay, so yeah, it's gone through a little bit of phases. So it has first gone through. We have in-house serving, and that means anybody can sit anywhere. That it's basically like a restaurant.
Mhm.
So we first just did wash your hands. Employees have to wash their hands every hour. The residents don't have to do anything, and then we'd serve them. We would have to wear like masks, and then it would just be normal serving, and everything would go about business. And as it got more progressive, we did the rule 2 per table because we wanted to do social distancing. So in a room with 22 tables and over 100 residents, we did 2 per table, which means that was really rough on the residents. So we still did that. That means we had to use a lot more peroxide on chairs, tables, armchairs, stuff like that. And we had to wear gloves and masks. And we could only be within 6 feet. So that meant putting the food on the table and sliding it to the resident. And that went on for a little bit. And now, since it's progressed even more, we're just doing room service. So that means the residents are confined to their individual rooms, and we prepare to-go boxes, and we put all the food in separate containers, and we go literally room to room, delivering the food. in boxes. And that started out as us going in 2 seconds in and out and leaving because we didn't want to be a problem. But now we're finding out that they're kind of getting a little depressed and lonely, being quarantined by themselves. So now we're allowed to kind of conversate for a little bit, but then we still have to go in and out. So, yeah.
How has the residents' views of COVID-19, from what you know, from what they've said to you, been changing throughout all this? Like, were they worried right away, or was it something that had more like a slower build?
So when it finally reached the states, we kind of like had a 50-50 split. Some residents were very concerned, so they took it seriously right away. So they did masks, they did social distancing, they had their own hand sanitizer that they brought down, and they like respected people's wishes. But then the other 50% were just like, it is what it is. I'm old. If I get it, it's fine. If I don't, that's fine too. So I'm just gonna go about my business. And now that they're quarantined to the rooms, they're really aware of it. They're really cautious, and they want to go back to normal. And they're trying their best just to not be a problem. So they're trying to be part of the solution.
Right. So, what precautions, if any, is the nursing home asking you to take before or when you're going to work?
So yeah, we got issued our own masks. So we have to wash them daily at our own homes. We can't ask them to do it, even though they have laundry rooms in the facility. We have to take them in. We have to wear them at all times in the building, and as soon as we take them off, we have to put them in a bag, take them home, wash them in a certain way, obviously, and then when we have to bring them every time. Another thing is that we have to keep a name tag and a letter on us at all times in our cars, just in case we get pulled over, to prove that we are considered essential workers.
Okay.
So that would be another thing that I guess we do. Trying to think of something else. I guess that's it. Yeah, just the masks and the name tag and letter that we have to keep on us at all times outside of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's like anything like when you're like entering the building, like anything you have to do special, or
Yeah,
no?
so we have to get our temperature taken at the front desk every single time we have to record it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard that we actually might get like the COVID testing that like was suggested, that the swab that goes in your nose, because they might think that the temperature might not be effective enough. So we might just go straight up to COVID testing, where they stick the swab in your nose instead of just the temperature.
Okay. Okay. So that's a possible change that you guys may be experiencing.
Yep.
Okay. So, what concerns do you have about the effects of COVID-19 on your employment?
So right now, it would concern me if we had a case. So right now we have 0 cases in our facility, which is really rare because our neighboring nursing homes do have cases. So it's really weird that we don't. So if we get COVID in our building, then our procedures will have to change. I think that they're gonna have to send our staff is gonna become limited. Then they're gonna start asking maybe for like volunteers to go home, to go on like a furlough.
Mm-hmm.
And then we might get a bump in pay, but that's probably not going to happen since we're kind of privately owned, and that's up to them. So if I was going to predict anything, if we did get a case, our staff would go down. Only a certain amount of workers would be able to show up, and a lot of people probably have to go on a furlough. Full-time workers would definitely be able to stay because they're under a contract. Part-time workers would definitely be cut, I think.
Okay. And how often, like how many hours do you typically work at the nursing home every week?
20 a week. Yeah,
20
20 hours a week. So I'm technically part-time. So my hours would definitely be cut. But since I'm a supervisor, I think I'd still get my supervisor day. But my other shifts, I think, would have to be cut.
Okay. So how has COVID-19 affected you and your family's day-to-day activities?
So my dad's a teacher, so he has to stay home, and he's not liking that at all because he's more old-fashioned. He likes a face-to-face interaction. So him going on this computer stuff and grading things is kind of tough for him. My mom is also in the healthcare facility, so she's been forced to go on a furlough. Then she went back to work, and now they're threatening an even longer furlough, so she does not like that. So it's tough on my parents right now because they're out of work right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my dad has work, my mom's almost out of work. My brother is construction, so he's been able to go to work daily. He's been going to sites and working his normal 9 to 5 and getting paychecks, so he hasn't been affected by it too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you like how are you managing like day-to-day activities in your household?
So we kind of we have this like little like we have our own little areas that we have to go to. Like when we just need a break from each other.
Hmm.
So like I have my own room. My brother has his own room. My dad goes in the common area. My mom uses her room. Um, so when we want to do activities, we kind of just go in our little areas, try to get out of each other's hair because we see each other daily now for hours on end, and that can be seeing too much of one person can get a little much. So
Hmm.
I think our own little separate areas help a lot.
Right. So, uh, has the COVID-19 outbreak affected how you associate and communicate with friends? And in what ways?
Definitely. So prior to COVID, I would usually take weekend nights to go out. Like Monday through Friday is school and work, so I can't really do much. But now, because of COVID, I'm stuck here at home. Just chatting online with my friends, doing things online, or just hanging by myself. I seldom see a friend besides going to work.
Mhm.
Um, I think like the last time I saw a friend was maybe few weeks ago, just to catch up. But other than that, we've been a little cautious about seeing each other in social areas.
Mhm. Do you think that uh, your job has played a role into not wanting to see people as much, or is it more focused on keeping your own health?
Um, yeah, I guess yes to both because the elderly settings and assistant living homes are more susceptible to it. So I am a little concerned that I'm at a higher risk of getting it.
Hmm.
And then if I get it, I'm at an extremely high risk of giving it to them. And I don't
Right.
want to be personally responsible of giving a large elderly community COVID and have it
Mhm.
spread. Then that's on me. So then I'd feel terrible. But then going there is also scared because if they get it, I can't double check all the procedures that we're following. So I also have a chance of getting it. Same with all my fellow coworkers. So that's also scary. So I guess social activities very limited, just so I don't spread it to them and they don't spread it to me.
Right, right. So you're kind of in a hard position, like
Yep.
in between two things. Yeah.
Between two things, don't want to be rock in a hard place. That's where
Rock in a hard
essentially it's
place.
at. Yep.
Yeah. So, how has the COVID-19 outbreak affected your community?
So from my perspective, like Rosemount is still kind of like going through their day to day. Like I still see a lot of people using cars and going to their day to day, but I see a lot of people more outside because I think like because gyms are closed down, I see a lot more people jogging, walking their dogs, going to the park, um, stuff like that. I've been noticing a lot more. Um, I've been noticing a lot more people um, just hanging out outside their homes, not really going out. So it's a little bit of a mix. I still see a lot of cars, more than I would suspect, but I also still see a lot of people like trying to exercise and be active.
Right.
Yeah.
So, has this like changed like how you're seeing like smaller communities, like for schools or clubs or church or anything like that?
Yeah. So like one example was like around Easter and like going to online church was weird. Like having that like was kind of weird. Seeing like empty parking lots, what I usually see would be full, is kind of weird thing. Um, like I live right next to an elementary school, and seeing that empty is kind of weird. So uh, like it's just the little things I'm noticing that are striking me as something odd. Like more things that you think would be more like that used to be social now empty. So I guess my community is taking it pretty seriously to a point, essentially. Yeah.
So, what's it been like for you to do like your necessity shopping? Like, is it you who's going out and shopping for your family, or is it someone else?
We take turns. So my turn was last week, and I had to go get the meat. Um, so that there was news that meat shipments might go down. So my dad gave me a list. He's like, "Will you go get some meat?" And I had to go there. and and the grocery store, people are wearing masks now, 6 feet apart, and I guess the meat was in low supply, like they said, so I had to take what I had to get. Um, and then I know my parents, they got other essentials like toilet paper and paper towels and other foods. They seem to be okay with that since we are a smaller community. Not many people are just rushing to the store to grab stuff. But I have noticed there's a low stock in our grocery stores.
Okay, so it's pretty like spread out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, have you or anybody you know gone sick during the COVID-19 outbreak of COVID?
I was told that my neighbor went to Florida, got it, and came back, and so there was a scare about that. Like me, my immediate next door neighbor. So that was scary. So we avoided them for a while until they got checked off that they're okay. They did get checked off that they're okay, but for about 2 weeks we were concerned that our immediate next door neighbor just got COVID because they showed
Mhm.
all the signs, and they got it in a place that has a lot of cases, and they brought it right back to our community.
Hmm. Uh, do you has anyone like you know personally gotten sick with anything besides COVID during this time?
Um, not that I know of. I know my grandma had a scare, because I know she's got uh some digestive issues, and she was getting sick and like not feeling well. So we thought that might have been COVID, but it was just her digestive issues. So that was a scare that we had.
So, what was your experience responding to that?
We were scared, so we immediately tried to get her to see somebody
Hmm.
because it was like over 2 days she was showing symptoms of COVID, and we're like, oh boy, what's going on? So we immediately got her to some place. They said they since she is elderly, they got her in quicker. They did run the test. They put the swab in, and they got some testing done, and they immediately came back to no, it's not COVID. It's your digestive thing acting up. And she's like, okay, so that's good.
So, during this pandemic, what have been your primary sources of news for it?
So I have, of course, CNN, Fox News, all the big broadcasting channels, but I've also been hearing a lot from independent articles like online. So like I've gotten for class we had to read a New Yorker article, we had to read a Forbes article. I'm getting little updates on my phone here and there, and then I'm also hearing it through the grapevine from my friends and family.
So, how often would you say that you check the news, like for COVID updates day to day?
For sure daily. I wouldn't say hourly, but at least I would say 3 times a day.
Okay. Have your news sources changed during the course of the pandemic?
Um, they've stayed fairly consistent. CNN's always on in my house, so I get that a lot. And then my school is business oriented, so we always go with business articles. So I'm always reading like small business owner articles and Forbes articles on stuff like that and how it's affecting like little businesses. So that stayed fairly consistent. I guess I haven't gone over and seen other news broadcasting stations as much as I should, at least.
Okay. So, what do you think are important issues that the media um, like may not be covering?
Um, what they may not be covering. I guess it's what they are covering is concerned. Like they're kind of being vague, using certain words like we'll eventually have um, some procedures to help it, or we will get to the bottom of this as quickly as we can. So I guess what they're not telling us is a timetable of when this is all going to go away. So like, when is quarantine going to end? I would like to know. When is a procedure or vaccine going to come out? So that'd be nice to know. But otherwise, they're giving us hard statistics that we can follow on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm. How have you seen, like, with public messages, maybe through advertising, change during the pandemic?
Um, so I like at the first beginning it was caution, be careful. But now I think they're using scare tactics, like ooh, you better be careful or you're gonna get it. Um, so I've noticed that it's gone from caution to now scary, to like drive up I guess, the scare tactic of COVID-19.
Mm. So, how have your municipal leaders and government officials in your community responded to the outbreak?
So we just got an extended quarantine by our governor, um, and I guess that's gone over not too well because now there's protests about people going back, and people that want to go back to work. We at least for Minnesota, we've been handling it okay because we shut down things fairly quickly. And then we've been getting our procedures up to date as quickly as we can and getting tests as quickly as we can. I
Mhm.
can't speak on other states, but I feel from Minnesota's perspective, we've been doing just fine.
All right. And do you have any thoughts besides that on how your local, state, or the federal leaders are responding to the crisis differently?
Um, I know we're being like a lot more like spoken and not as transparent as like the federal government may be appearing to be. Um, so that's kudos for at least our local government, and then my Rosemount government. I think they're taking good precautions because they shut down a lot of big like social areas, but they're keeping the essentials as much as they can.
Mhm.
So like I know we just reopened barbershops and hair cutting places because I know those were probably going to be needed. But no bars are open, no parks are open, stuff like that, which I guess is okay.
Mhm. All right. So, for the future, like how are your thoughts like on how things are going to be, like let's say later this fall, like later this year, like how are you like seeing things right now?
So from news in the grapevine, I heard that the quarantine could still be going on into the fall. Um, but if it doesn't, then I guess an economic concern would have to be addressed because I know everybody's concerned about that. When we do go back to work, will we recover economically? So I guess that's on my mind. Um, I'm wondering, will procedures continue to follow? Because I also heard from other medical officials that even though COVID might go away, there'd probably be some smaller things like colds will probably be in a high percentage because we're so used to hand sanitizer that maybe some of our immune system will be broken down that colds will be easier. So that's a concern of mine. And then my last concern will be how long will we be practicing COVID procedures even after it's passed? So those are my three big concerns,
Mhm.
at least coming into the fall.
And as a student, how has COVID-19 been affecting your schooling right now, and how do you see it affecting you once again, like later, like this next fall semester?
So I got lucky because all my classes are online, other than my friends who've had to transition online. So I haven't seen much of a change in my schooling because it's already online. Um, but I suspect that, so I'm anticipated to graduate next year. So when it comes to the fall, I suspect that graduation will be a little different. It'll just probably be nice job, you graduated, goodbye, no ceremony,
Mhm.
which some people I know are looking very forward to. But I guess that's the necessary evil of the situation.
Mhm.
So, I guess that's my schooling situation.
All right. So, uh, has your experiences transformed how you think about your family, friends, and community at all?
Yeah, a little disappointed on how like as a mass we've handled it. Like I thought, like we'd be taking this more seriously, and now I'm like seeing people like put holes in their mask so they can breathe, and like people refusing to wear masks, saying like it's my choice not to wear a mask. And I thought in a pandemic or of illness we'd be a little bit more accommodating and be like, hey, this is more than just us; it's about everyone. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that. Otherwise, I guess I'm fairly happy with how people are handling it, being
Hmm.
cautious and trying their best not to be spreading the illness or causing an illness.
Right. And knowing what you now know, what do you think that individuals, communities, or governments need to keep in mind for the future?
Um, I guess that this is even though that even in the future, even though that might go away, we should still be very cautious. And even if like we have another thing like this, we should be more prepared. Um, because a lot of statistics are showing that we weren't prepared. So I guess it would be nice, like in the future, that are more prepared if we are given like more up to date advances on progressing illnesses. So
Mhm.
yeah, more I would like to be more up to date, I guess, on the procedures.
Right. And how do you see the what you think like what it's going to be like after COVID? How do you see that affecting your job and how nursing homes are being run?
Um, so yeah, I don't think my nursing home's ever going to be the same again after this.
Mhm.
So I suspect we're going to invest a lot more into peroxide and sanitizers. Like we had sanitizers before, but now we got like 7 different peroxides. We got like floor peroxide, table peroxide, dish peroxide. So I'm thinking we're going to be using that a lot more. Um, I'm thinking that the masks that we have to wear throughout the whole entire ship are going to be used well after COVID even is gone. Um, I suspect that we might still need to be our temperatures taken even well after COVID is gone. So, and then probably procedures will have to change a
Mhm.
lot.
Now, I didn't ask earlier, but uh, how long has it been since visitors were not allowed to visit with the
Um,
residents?
the phase, if you remember the phase where we had 2 people per table,
Hmm.
um, people were still allowed to come at the beginning of that. So once that started, that was probably when that hit like when when the states started getting more cases. That's when we went 2 per table, and about halfway, going from room service to 2 per table, that's when we stopped. So it's probably been about 2-3 months since we've had visitors being allowed in the building.
Okay. And how do you think after COVID, visitors coming in to see residents is going to have changed?
So yeah, I suspect that they'll have to go through a lot of the same procedures as employees. They'll have to get their temperature taken. They'll have to wear a mask. They might have to wear gloves, and they definitely have to like sanitize their hands as they enter the building. And then I'm wondering if they'll have limited hours of visitation.
Hmm.
So they'll probably get a few hours maybe at the beginning, but as like cases start to go down, they probably will get a longer stay period.
Right, right. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for all of um, your perspective on what's been happening.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Great.